Hey guys, it's time for paint night again. Last week was so much fun, and you guys had a lot of great feedback for me. Sounds like everybody had fun painting along, so I really appreciate that, and really excited to be here again. And oh my gosh, I always get those jitters before pushing the go live button. But yeah, if you're here, let me know. Say hi. We can start painting pretty soon. Let me know if you're with your family. What are you drinking? I've got a nice hot cup of sweet and spicy tea, one of my favorites, and I'm in my garage, so it's really cold. Like always, cold day today. And, okay, so yeah, we're going to be painting these awesome jellyfish today. So if you have not done this before, I'm going to be going through step by step the process to complete this painting. So if you've never painted before, it's perfect. I'll go through all the different techniques, and you'll learn brush control and color mixing as you go. And if you're a pretty experienced painter or kind of intermediate, feel free to get creative if you want, or just follow along. You can do different colors or change up the composition. This piece is kind of fun because it's a monochromatic piece, so the only colors I use are blue and white. We can also add in a little bit of black, so if you wanted to mix up the colors and do like a pink jellyfish or purple or something, you can totally feel free to do that. Alright, we got some comments here. Liz and her family are here. Hi, glad you're watching again. Erica, glad you're here again too. And Sue, welcome, welcome. And I see there's 9 people watching. Wow. Yay. Okay. So, let's see. Welcome everybody. Let's get our supplies ready. So hopefully you have your paints all set. Oh, Lizzie Lopez made it. Yay. I hope Max is doing okay. Okay. So yeah, I like to start with maybe like a tablespoon of paint at a time, and then you can always add more if you need. Usually a little bit goes a long way. And I've just got some regular titanium white. That's usually what I use, and phthalo blue. That's one of my favorite pigments. I think I discovered it like a year ago, but it's really cool. You can get just really good color mixes with this hue. And that's phthalo with a P-H-T-A-L-O. One of my favorite pigments. And let's see, I have black out here just in case, but I don't think I'll use it. And I'm just going to do blue and white, keep it simple today. Usually we have a lot of colors. I might need more blue than that. Okay, and other supplies you should have. Obviously something to paint on, like a canvas. I saw some friends got creative last time, like Liz painted on a toy suitcase. I know it's hard to get to the store and get everything right now, so whatever you have, you can really get creative, even paint like a piece of furniture or something. Yay, Liz and Kevin. Alright, so, okay, we got our paint, we've got a palette for our paint. You can use like a paper plate or something, but you guys are probably set already since I gave you the list beforehand. Okay, and a canvas, and you should have several brushes. So I have a bigger one that I like to use. I love these flat brushes because they're pretty versatile. You can get different effects with them. So this is a number 24 flat brush, a 12 flat brush, and then I have a round brush. I don't remember what size it is, maybe a 4 or 6 for the tiny details. But yeah, with these two you can kind of switch around and either fill in the canvas really quickly with the larger brush, and the medium brush you get a little bit more control over your paint. And okay, then you need a water cup for rinsing your brushes, and a rag or even paper towels to dry your brush off with. Let me see if I can find a spot to put this where you can see it, or I'll just pull it out for reference if we need it. You guys can kind of see it here. And also let me know if there's any issues with the audio or video as we go along, because I'm not able to like see this and edit it. It's totally live. I'm here right now. Yay. So yeah, let me know if there's any issues and if I need to tweak anything. But yeah, I think we had a pretty good trial run last week and it went pretty well. Okay, so we're gonna begin with the background. And we'll just kind of lay down our paint and then build up that texture of the sun rays coming through. If you can see, there's more white at the top and then it gets darker towards the bottom, so keep those things in mind. And I'm just going to start with some white. I'll load up my brush, take like a good scoop of it, and we'll just kind of lay that down on the canvas. I like to put white paint on my white canvas. You can't see it. It doesn't look like it's doing anything yet, but it is going to be useful because when you get some blue paint, so now if I mix some blue with the white, then you can blend it in with the white right there. And we'll start with these kind of circular brush strokes and I'll work our way down to fill in the canvas, and then we'll go back in to create more of that texture. But yeah, right now we'll just kind of fill in the canvas. So yeah, it should be like pretty much straight white at the top, but it's okay if you get some blue in it, and it's kind of bluish too. And then I usually just mix my paint on my palette. So yeah, we only have 2 colors, it's so easy. So you just add more and more blue as you go along to get it to be darker. And you want to mix up a really good amount of paint because we are going to need quite a bit to cover up our canvases. Well, it depends on what size canvas you have. I'm so used to doing all the same size paintings. I'm also used to seeing real people in my classes, so this is kind of a different experience teaching for me. Talking to the camera. But anyway, we gotta try new things as the times change. Okay, so just going along, filling in our canvas. Okay, yeah, and sometimes I personally tend to kind of speed through my painting. It's just kind of in my nature. I'm a very patient person, but I'm also kind of impatient, and I love to get things done as quickly and efficiently as possible. So my point is, if I go too fast, you can let me know in the comments and I'll slow down. But also I think you can pause the video. There should be an option for that. So if you need to pause and catch up to any part of it, feel free. Yeah, and I'll try to slow down. I think because I'm a little nervous being on camera, I'm going even faster. Yeah, I loved seeing everyone's paintings from last week. They turned out so cool, and I'm glad everyone had fun. It's so special to be able to offer this virtually, and how crazy we have the tools to do this, to connect live in real time. And I see so many other people doing similar things, offering live videos. Like now when I log into my Facebook or Instagram, I get like notification after notification of so-and-so going live. But it's a cool way to keep up our connection, like even though we're social distancing. Too fast. Okay, I will slow down. Oh yeah, so anyway, I'll just find more things to talk about. But yeah, even though we're doing the social distancing, I think it's still so important to have social connection, you know? Even though we can't be physically close, we can still connect over Zoom, and I know some of you have your friends together over video. And you're here with me too. Okay, so yeah, what I'm doing here is I'm just gradually getting darker as I go down the canvas. Donna got blue paint everywhere. Did it spill? Oh no. I mean Doug. Codename Doug. Let's see, did I miss any comments? No. Scrolling through. Casey's here. Are you doing watercolor again? Casey, I guess you still don't have acrylic paint, probably. And Gabby's watching. Hi, Gabby. I'm in the garage. Yeah, so gradually getting darker, and I'm just adjusting the ratios of paint that I have. So yeah, at the top I started with mostly white paint, and then a little bit of blue got in there, and then I'm just like adding little increments of blue to the white to get it darker. So I don't know if you can see my palette is blue, so that doesn't really help for the visual. But yeah, I'm just working in this little puddle on my plate. Yeah, and Elizabeth, there will be a replay of this video, so you can, if you're painting again later, you can rewatch it too. So then you'll get a little briefing right now, and then you can paint along next time. Hello, Bonnie from Miwok Village. I still haven't looked that up on the map, but I'm glad you're here again. Okay, so I'm getting to the edges of my canvas here. Very last corners. Yeah, you can either keep this one layer, but also if you have the time, I know a lot of us have time right now, you can go over with a second layer too, and what that does is that builds up the color intensity. So when you do the first layer of paint, usually it's not like so solid that you can still kind of like see the canvas through. Like with this especially, if you do like the shorter strokes, I can kind of lift up the paint a little bit and I can see the canvas through. But if you do go over with a second layer after letting this one dry, then the color just comes up a little bit better. And the Thompson family is painting along. Are they watching with you, Liz? Okay, also, I forgot to mention, for this process, hopefully you're not too far along, if you are, you want to try to use long brush strokes from one edge to the other edge of the canvas, so long sweeping strokes, and that'll give you a smoother gradient. But we are gonna go back in with more texture, so it's not super critical that you get a really smooth layer right now. Okay. And the next step I want to do while the paint is still wet, so I am going to demonstrate that right now. And then you can catch up whenever you get there. Oops. Gabby's watching. Hi, Gabby. Are you painting today or just watching? I don't remember that you painted last time, but it was nice to see that you were here. Okay, so for the little rays of light coming down, I'm switching to my medium brush, and we're just gonna add in some vertical strokes now to create those sun rays. No paint. Bummer. If you ordered it on Amazon, it might get to you in like a month. By the time this thing is over. A joke, yes. Let's hear it. Elizabeth. Okay, anyway, I'll demonstrate this part because I don't want my paint to dry out yet. I want to get the cool color blends going. So I'm going to get my white paint with the medium brush, and I'm going to start from the top and work from the middle and think about like kind of like sun rays going, kind of like flattening it out at the sides. Does that make sense? Okay. And we're just going to make these streaks. Take your time getting this technique down. You want to try to stay kind of loose. And one thing that helps with that, if you feel like you're getting like too controlled with your painting, Anakin Skywalker. Oh my god. It's an inside joke, so nobody else is gonna get it. But that is the best joke ever. Okay, so anyway, keeping your painting process loose. One thing that helps is if you try to use your whole arm instead of like just your wrist or your elbow. And that's what why it helps to stand while you're painting sometimes, is you can kind of engage your whole body in the painting process. And that helps you loosen up with your style so you're not like forcing the paint to be controlled. And also just like practicing and showing up to my virtual paint nights will help you improve and get the techniques down. But yeah, I'm just working with the white paint right now and creating these strokes, kind of building them up. They're blending in with the blue paint a little bit. Of course, none of this has to be perfect because it's art, and art is not meant to be perfect. Okay, and then I'll do the same thing from the bottom. So I'll go into my blue paint and do these strokes coming from the bottom. And you can start anywhere with these, but I want to try to keep the tones similar, so keep the lighter paint concentrated on the top and then the darker color on the bottom. I'm going to rinse my brush so I can get some of the blue a little bit darker because the white mixed in. And yeah, when you're rinsing your brushes, I always demonstrate this to anyone in case you don't know how to rinse your brushes. But you want to just swish them around really vigorously and smash the bristles at the bottom of the cup and agitate all the paint off. And then just wipe the excess water off of the brush so you don't get drips going down your canvas. And then hopefully you have a little rag or paper towel. You can just dry your brush off to get any more excess water out of it. This is Barney the owl, by the way. That's his name. Okay, I'm gonna need more blue paint because I used it all up. So yeah, then we'll do the same thing with our dark blue paint. And this is going to be essentially our second layer. I don't know about you, but my paint is starting to dry out. It's kind of funny, you never know how it's going to work. Last Friday, my paint took forever to dry. And today it's drying very fast. So we just gotta go with the flow. Yeah, and if your paint starts to dry out on you, you're not going to get as much blending going in. So when you put the paint on the canvas, it's just going to sit on top of the color that's underneath there. If you're working with acrylic paint, of course, different paints react differently. So if you happen to be working with oil paints, then they're gonna stay wet and blendable for a long time. Watercolors are like completely different, and they do lift back up if you put paint over them. But acrylics, once they dry, the paint will set. It will not lift back up if you paint over it. Okay. So yeah, I'm just kind of putting on my second layer of paint and going along with these long kind of vertical brush strokes. Of course, they're like flattening out. And if you want some guidance, you can hold your brush up against the canvas, and then this is kind of like the point that the rays come out of, and then you can kind of see what angle the rays should be at. So I'm kind of following that with the angles of my brush strokes. Dropped some paint on the floor. Be right back. Okay, another thing to keep in mind as you go along is to kind of work in sections, because if the paint is drying really fast, what was I going to say? Well, I just kind of like started over here, and then I'm working my way over here, and then I started to paint over here, but then I realized I should work where the paint is still wet so I can get the blending going, and then when I make my way over here, then I'll get to that, and it'll all stay kind of consistent versus like jumping back and forth from side to side of the painting. That's a helpful little trick if you're working with acrylics, to work in sections. Okay, and if your paint starts to dry, also you can alternate between colors. So maybe work with a little bit of blue. If the blue starts to take over, you can get some more light blue, and then add in a few strokes. Another thing to keep in mind for this part is to not overblend, so you want to make sure your brush strokes are showing through, and that's what creates the texture of the background. Okay, back to the blue. Still have this instinct to jump over here. Hello, Andrew. Welcome to the paint night. Hope you brought some paints. And then I will bring more of these white strokes down into the lower part of the canvas. I feel like it's a little bit too divided. Like it's all light blue up here and all dark blue down here. So it's kind of nice to add in some variation. So yeah, if you've kind of gone through the whole canvas and filled in your background, you might want to take a little step back and view your painting from a distance to get a fresh perspective on it. And then you might notice things you want to add to it or change about it. Maybe you want to keep working on the background. Yeah, backgrounds are always so much fun because you can really get lost in them. It's like the most meditative part of the painting sometimes. It's different for everybody. Of course, everyone has a different experience with painting. Occasionally I'll have people that get so stressed out by it. And yeah, it's kind of funny. Sometimes I feel like a life coach in my regular paint nights, coaching people through their frustration of dealing with the paint. Another little effect you can do if the paint is dry already, you can still go over it with the paint, and it's not going to blend in, but it'll still create like a little brush stroke. So don't want to go too dark. You find the right color. But yeah, so if you're painting over dry paint, that's okay too. You can still add the same effects. They'll just look a little different. Cool to have variation, and feel free to experiment with the paint and see what happens when you work with it. Different ways, try different brush strokes. Okay. Though people are tuning in right now. Yes, I don't know if you guys are watching like in the middle now, if you were watching from the beginning. Since it's live, I'm assuming you're just jumping in. But yeah, this is our virtual paint night, so if you have your painting supplies, you can still jump in and catch up. If not, there will be a replay, and you could watch it again later. I know some people also couldn't make it tonight. Now I dropped my paintbrush and got paint on my little rug here. Jeez. Ross says this is so cool. It is so cool. It's very exciting to be doing this live. It's crazy that like anyone can be on TV now. You just go on Facebook and make a live video. Like before, it used to just be, you know, the big broadcast corporations would do that. I have sweet and spicy tea. That's my favorite. It's sweet and it's spicy. Nothing special in it, Gabby. Okay. time to step back and see what we've got going. I have this thing again where I stand to the side so you guys can all see, and then my painting ends up a little lopsided. Like, that's like the middle is over here. But that's okay, it's not a big deal. Like I said, it doesn't have to be perfect. Oh, thank you, Erica. I am so glad to be able to offer some positivity and joy during this crazy time. And it's crazy, I don't know how it is like where everybody is. I think most of you are probably in California also, like me. But yeah, we've had our shelter in place for a week already. I'm getting kind of used to it. I don't know about you guys. You know, I'm always prepared. Like, when I go to the store, I try to make as few trips as possible. But I'm prepared to like wait outside in line for 20 minutes, and to not be able to find everything I need. Like, you know, we haven't hoarded any toilet paper, but we're running kind of low. So that might be an issue soon. Hopefully they get more soon. Or I'll just go really early. Yeah, but I'm getting kind of used to it. And I didn't have the biggest transition either. Like, most of my days are spent with Athena or working from home anyway, so that's been the same. But all my events have been canceled, like all my paint nights. So it's giving me a little bit more free time. And I've been doing a little bit more painting. And it's kind of cool because I did want to focus more on a lot of this virtual stuff. And building like online classes and things like that, so it's a good opportunity to focus on that. Very convenient. Thanks, Corona. Okay, so yeah, now we've finished the background. If you're still working on it, take your time. Can let the paint dry a little bit before we do our next layer so that the jellyfish can kind of sit on top of the background instead of getting blended in. But it's also okay if they blend in since we only have one color we're working with. And if you do want to create contrast in your painting, you don't have to make it monochrome. Like a really good combination is if you do bright orange jellyfish on the dark blue background. It's very striking. I have a painting I did like that, kind of like the aquarium where you go and they're all lit up in bright orange. So yeah, there's a lot of options, and I don't know, maybe it's confusing sometimes because like the world is your oyster and you can do anything you want with your painting, but also you can just follow along with me. But I always have like so many ideas for different paintings, different variations. It's hard to be decisive sometimes. But just throwing it out there, I'm all about creativity, and if you have any questions, you can let me know. Get some more paint. I wanted to see also if you guys have any feedback or ideas on other platforms to do these paint nights on, because they are a lot of fun and I think I want to do them like every week while we're stuck at home, or safe at home as they say. So if you have any ideas, yeah, like Facebook Live has been really accessible, but I wish there was more interaction with you guys, like if I could see what you're painting, or if it was easier to kind of chat back and forth, that would be cool. I know there's like Zoom, I don't know a lot about how that works, but maybe that's an option. But if you guys have any of that technology feedback or ideas for me, it'll be cool. And it's cool too to still have a recording for people to watch later on if they can't make it live. Cardboard canvases, that's the best. That's what I give Athena. I always have like little cutoffs from shipping orders. I have a lot of pieces of cardboard and I let Athena make paintings on them. Sometimes I cut out little shapes for her. Oh, here we go, some suggestions. Zoom is good on Outschool. Ooh, that would be cool to check out, Erica. You can send me a link for that, I'll check it out. Yeah, I've been wanting to do kids art classes too. I've been thinking about that, maybe offering like a summer camp even. That was an idea. But I haven't done a lot of work with kids, so I have to kind of plan it out and maybe do some research on cool projects. But I have been reading into it a little bit and getting some practice with my 2-year-old, which is different. I think every age is so different to teach. But I think it would be cool. Kids are the most creative souls, and it's fun to be able to encourage that and see what they come up with. Okay, so I think I will start on the jellyfish now. If you guys want to see our end goal one more time. Yeah, we're going to add on the jellyfish. So working with the same colors, just doing white for the outlines, starting with the bells, and then we'll do a little bit of shading in there. And then for the finishing touch, we'll add the tentacles in. Summer camp, oh my gosh, yes, art camp, that would be so cool. And Donna's also painting on cardboard. Yeah, I bet the texture on cardboard would be really cool. You get those ridges, and if you put it in like a really nice golden frame, I think that would be really cool. Maybe you could even do like a giant cardboard masterpiece and put it in a nice frame, and you'll have an awesome piece of artwork. Okay, so the jellyfish, I'm going to keep working with the medium brush for now because it's not a super fine detail to start with. And first thing you want to do is kind of plan your placement of the jellyfish and the number of jellyfish. In general, if you do an odd number of the subject, that's a little bit more visually appealing than having an even number, just so it's not too symmetrical. But you could get away with it, like if you do like 2 jellyfish, kind of offset a little bit. In the sample I did 3 jellyfish, and I think that works pretty well, and that's probably what I'll do here again. You could also just do like 1 beautiful flowing jellyfish for a nice impact. But yeah, first thing is just to figure out your placement. So take a moment to think about that. You don't have to rush into the next step just yet. Yeah, so for this one I think when I did this sample, I wished I made it a little bit higher, so I might do this one like up here, and then the other 2, and they're all kind of offset, not totally symmetrical, and also different sizes, a little bit of variation in there helps create like a more interesting piece. So this one's the biggest, and it also gives you some dimension in the painting too, so you might feel like this larger one is closer to you, and then the smaller one is further in the distance, and then you can even add like more like tiny silhouettes in the background if you wanted to have like a huge jellyfish bloom painting. Lots of options, but yeah, that's like a little idea for creating depth in your painting if you do different sizes. And yeah, that's all I have to say about that. Okay, so when you have your placement figured out, we're gonna make the bell shape. So I'll do my first little one up here. It'll be kind of like up in the background, floating up to the surface. So the shape you're making, it's kind of like a half circle for the top, and then the bottoms curl in a little bit. So you don't want to have like a hard corner down there. And then just a slight curve on the bottom. And I'll start just with this one jellyfish and paint it through the whole thing, and then we'll do the other ones. Let me step back just to make sure I'm happy with that. Let's see. Yeah, you can always adjust your shape if you paint it on initially and something looks off about it. You can still go back in and yeah, change anything you want. The hard part is, though, if you want to bring the background back, that'll be a little bit more tricky, just to make it seamless. Although with this piece, since we're just doing the monochromatic, it wouldn't be too hard to fix up your background if you really made like a wacky stroke or something. Okay, so yeah, half circle for the top and then a slight curve on the bottom. And that'll be the bell. And then we can create a little variation in there. So I'm getting my medium blue here, kind of an in-between between the dark and the white. And you can work with the little brush if this would be easier. I'm just going to go for it with my medium brush. And then I'm going to do these short vertical strokes coming from the bottom. And then just go over it again. So I did two ways with this flat brush. First I held it vertically and did little strokes like that, and then I flipped it 90 degrees, and then I kind of smoothed those brush strokes out so they're not so bold. And then just kind of blend them in with the white, and then I'll get more white paint on my brush and start from the top. And, oh, that's not doing anything right now. I'm going to rinse my brush to get the blue off. Yeah, if you find your paint blending too much and you can't create that contrast that we're going for, you can always let it dry and then go back in with another color over it. But yeah, now I've got just clean white, and I'm gonna lay that down up here. So yeah, it's kind of really blending in with that light blue that was created. So I might go back in later and just add some little highlights. I think that's a pretty good texture there. So we can start on the next bell. Make another one here. And then make sure you're leaving enough room for the tentacles too, because they're so pretty. You want to make sure you have them in the painting. So for example, if you put a jellyfish down here, you'd been missing out on that whole subject. So yeah, the jellyfish is actually going to be like that big, even though the bell is just up here in this little spot. And another variation on this shape you can do to give it even more of a three-dimensional feel is you can add another curved line here. So we did the half circle for the top, and then a curve kind of bowed down at the bottom, and then another one just curved up at the top. So then you can kind of see underneath into the bell of the jellyfish. And then I'll continue to fill it in. Go to a slightly bluish color here. And then if you did do that little middle part, you can fill that in with a darker blue, because it'll be kind of shadowy in there. And you want to have the contrast, so you can kind of tell between the different shapes. Yeah. Okay, check my battery. It's kind of low. I don't know if I'll be able to see. Hopefully my iPad doesn't die on you. Okay, and then we're going to do the same thing and just add in those little strokes to create some texture in the bell of the jellyfish. another question for you guys. Do you have any requests for our next paint night? I mean, I could keep going with sea creatures because that's a lot of what I paint on my own. But I was thinking maybe something floral would be fun. Like hibiscus flowers or something. Something colorful and bright. Switch it up from the marine life. Let me know if you have any requests. Oh, the whale in the heart? That would be a fun one. Gotta make sure I don't dip my brush in my tea. Come very close to that a couple times already. And don't drink the paint water either. It's probably not good for you. Poppies. Yeah. Actually, I have another piece. I wasn't going to do this one because this was going to be my next public paint night at the wine bar. But this is a piece that I have of wildflowers, poppies, and lupins. I might create a different variation, maybe a little more focus on like a single poppy or a couple, and create a little composition. Ooh, starfish on rocks. That's a good idea too. Rocks are fun to paint. You can just kind of throw all the colors on, create mud color. So many good ideas. And keep in mind also your brush stroke direction as you paint. So you're kind of following the shape of the bell, and that will help create that dimension. So I'm kind of starting from the top, similar to how we were working on the background, creating those radial brush strokes. It's always hard to explain these concepts. But yeah, I'm just kind of following the curve of the bell, the shape of it, and that'll give it that dimension. And hopefully you guys can understand that by what I'm doing with my paintbrush here. Mermaids. That's a good idea too. Oh my gosh. We'll have paint nights for days. Okay, let me make my third bell. I'm gonna take a step back just to make sure I get it in a good spot, because it's hard to tell looking at it sideways. Ooh, hot air balloon. Oh, if we did wildflowers, we could add a butterfly or hummingbird. Some other animal. Good idea. Okay, and this one's gonna be the largest. So we have that depth. I'm gonna give this one the little middle part too. I'm just filling it in first, and then we'll add a little more texture. Remember, the under part should be that darker blue. And then little texture strokes here, and then smooth them out a little. Easel's so wobbly. And if your colors start to mix too much, remember you can always rinse your brush off and get fresh white paint or darker paint, whatever you're working with. If it's starting to blend all together, you're getting not the color you wanted, just rinse your brush. A lot of times I paint without rinsing my brush and just pick up the colors and mix them in, so then I kind of have to remind myself that I need to wash my brush. Sometimes it takes a little excavating to find the right texture. That's the great thing about acrylics, is you can layer on, you can cover up things you don't like. That's why I've always loved working with them. It's my chosen medium. Also the fact that it dries fast, so you don't have to wait a long time to cover it up. Like I said earlier, I'm not like a super patient person when it comes to getting projects done. And lately I've been working on my book illustrations. If you guys have been following me on social media, maybe you've seen a few little sneak peeks of those, but those are with watercolor. Yeah, and there's a lot of waiting time waiting for the paint to dry. But I use a heat gun to dry it off even faster so I can work on the next section. Yeah, because with that medium, if you lay down another color next to it, it just like seeps in and all the colors blend together. But that's also what's so cool about watercolors. Also, another question for you guys. I was wondering if you guys would be interested in using a different medium than acrylics, maybe a watercolor paint night, or I also do the acrylic pouring. That's super fun. I know that might entail getting more supplies that you might not have. So just let me know if you'll be interested in that or not. It'd be fun to mix it up and try new things. Always. Mary, thank you so much. Thank you for being here. And I am so happy to share this. This is a lot of fun. A lot of fun to do. Okay, so these jellyfish are looking pretty good. I think they've got like some good texture in the bell. Yeah, and at this point, you want to make sure you're not comparing your painting to my painting, because everybody has a different style, even if you're just starting out painting. Just the way you hold your brush and the way you move it, that's your own personal style. So it's better to embrace it. So if it doesn't look exactly like this, you know, take a step back and look at it from a distance on its own and see what you think. You can get your friends' feedback too if you have anyone with you. Or you can get like if you have your virtual friends. I know some of you are doing that, so fun. But yeah, it's good to get feedback and encouragement from other people if you get stuck at any point. Ooh, watercolor, yes. Ooh, okay, maybe I'll plan something. Ooh, another fun project I saw a little while ago is coffee painting, where you get instant coffee and you mix it with water and you can make like a sepia tone painting with that. I've been wanting to try that. Sounds super fun. Maybe that'll be a morning class. Coffee and painting. Okay, so I think if you're happy with your bells, it's time to add the tentacles, which is a super fun part. So yeah, for your brush, a couple of options. If you have a flat brush like this and it's pretty decent and it comes to a point at the end, show you an example of not what you want to have. Well, a lot of times if you get like cheaper craft brushes, you'll see they're like really poofy at the end. I don't know if you can see the difference there. These are both flat brushes, but one gets all poofed at the end. But anyway, if you have a flat brush that comes to a nice point at the end, like this one, then you can use that the vertical way to create thin lines. And if your flat brush is not like that, you can also get your smaller round brush and use that for the tentacles. I like to work with the flat brush because it has more bristles and it holds more paint, so it's easier to get a long stroke without like lifting up your brush and getting more paint, reloading it. And that's just nicer because you get a more consistent line that doesn't look broken if you lift it up and then you put it back down and try to match up the brush stroke. Yeah, it's easier if you can get it just in one go. But anyway, that's why I like to use the flat brush over the smaller brush. But see what's easier for you. It's all personal preference. And I'm going to use white paint for the tentacles, so we'll load some of that up. And you want to make sure when you're doing thin lines like this, some other things to keep in mind, you want to make sure you don't have too much paint on your brush. So a lot of times I'll load it up just on the very end instead of scooping it up like we did at the beginning to cover up the canvas. And then I'll like wipe off some of the paint. And then, yeah, I just take a minute to like load and unload and reload my brush to get the right amount of paint on it, so that I can get a nice thin line. And then also the pressure you apply to the brush will affect the thickness of your line. So if you want to go for thin lines, I'll start at the top here. You just press down oh so lightly with your brush and you'll get a thinner line. And then I'll show you guys the other stroke. So if you press down all the way with your brush, you'll get a thicker line. And I'm just doing that on my plate because I do not want the thick lines on there. Oh no, Donna lost me. I don't know what happened. Looks like it's still going live from my point of view. Ooh, there's the camera. Okay, so just giving it a slight wave as we go down with these tentacles. It's cool if you can get them to overlap in some parts. That'll also create some dimension. Oh yay, you got me back. Good. Probably an internet connection thing or something. Oops. My paint's still wet on the bell here, so when I start up here, I kind of pick up the blue paint and lose my white stroke, so I have to reload my paintbrush. bring out some of these lines a little more. Here we go. Finding balance. That's cool. I still have a little bit of wet blue paint under here, so it's kind of picked up in the tentacles. Pretty neat. I'm looking at my screen instead of stepping back from my painting because I have a nice little overview of it. And it's also flipped, so from my perspective, which is handy. That's another thing you can do to get a fresh perspective on your painting, is you can hold it up to a mirror and look at it. Let's see. Okay, moving along to our other jellies. Another thing I've done here is I've angled the jellyfish a little bit, so the bottom of this one is slanted in towards the center, and this one's also slanted in towards the middle here. It's a little bit late if you already painted your bells, but you can still do that with the tentacles, maybe like make them go out. And that's one little technique to draw attention to the middle of the painting. So that's like another thing artists think about is in composition, how to keep your eye in the painting. So if you have like lines or shapes going out, your eye is going to go where the subject is going. So in this piece, the way I've done it is your eye is kind of drawn towards the middle here. And then I think, looking at it now, I'm just like thinking on the spot here. Then as you work your way up, the rays go down, so you're kind of like going in this cycle and staying in the painting. So many little things to learn. Okay, moving along with the tentacles. Now we have some marine science friends watching, and you guys might be thinking that I did not add in the oral tentacles in the middle. I just kept it simple for this piece, but if you wanted to, you can paint them in, because the jellyfish has to eat too. It's like not painting the mouth on a portrait. Crazy. And on to our last little jellyfish back here. And some options depending on your composition. Of course, I can't give you guys tips if I can't see what you're making. But yeah, either, however many jellyfish you have, you can make the ones that are falling behind kind of stay to the sides of the other jellyfish, or you can make it like it's going behind the other jellyfish, which would mean just stopping at the bell with the line. And that's another way to create depth in your painting, is to overlap your subjects. I might bring these down even more. Some really long tentacles. How's that looking? Okay. Tea before it gets cold. Okay, and what's left? So I think at this point we're on to the finishing details. We have all the basic elements filled in, and then some little things I added just to give these tentacles like a kind of a fairy essence. I added these little dots in on the tentacles. And then also we can do a little outline around the bells to make them pop even more. So let's do that. So now I am going to get my little brush, and if you're already working with the little brush, you can continue to do so. And when I'm working on these smaller details, especially because it's at the end of the painting process, I like to add some water to my paint because the paint starts to dry out a little bit. And it makes it easier to work with if it's a little bit more fluid. It also depends on your paint. There are some paints that, depending on the brand, that are more fluid and they're easier to work with. But if they're pretty viscous, or like heavy body, you want to add some water to it just so it's easier to maneuver with a small brush. Because what happens if it's too goopy, too thick, then you'll load it up on your brush and it'll be like really globby when you go on with the little brush. So you want to get kind of a more fluid consistency so it goes on smoothly. Okay. And my colors are all kind of mixing together. You probably can't see. Quality is not that good. So I'm mixing my white and I'm getting blue in it. So I'm going to get some fresh white on a clean corner of my plate so I can do this part. I'm going to rinse that blue off. So I want to get some nice bright highlights and create contrast. Okay, let's try that again. So yeah, I'm just picking out a tentacle. You want to make sure they're not too like organized or in the same spot. And you can just add like 4 or 5 little dots. I think it's a fun little detail you can add. It gives it a touch of whimsy. And I'm always looking for that balance in the piece. So I want to make sure I don't have too many congregated in any one spot. Same thing with like the overall composition. You want to make sure you've got like pretty good random spacing. I know random is a hard thing to achieve for a lot of people. But yeah, just something to think about. I'm pretty happy with that part. And now we can do some outlining. So I'm going to continue with my white paint, and I'm going to outline the top of the bell. You want a steady hand for this, so I like to stick my pinky out and put it on the canvas, and then I can just kind of pivot my hand here to get some more control. If you're on a table, you can just kind of rest your elbow on the table, and that helps too. Okay, so we'll do just a little white line on the top of the bell. There we go. And also down here we'll kind of connect where the tentacles are with the white line. You guys hear the chirping birds here? It's kind of the nice thing about painting in the garage. The downside is that it's cold during this time of year, but in the summer it's really nice because I'm practically outside. I'm lucky to live in a quiet neighborhood too. Very peaceful here. I'm doing kind of like a bubbled outline on the bottom, because that's like where the tentacles meet, and they look like that. Okay, I think that's pretty good. The final details, and then don't forget the very last thing. When you're done, if you're still working on it, take your time. Take as long as you need. Even after I log off, you can keep painting if you're still working on it. But don't forget to sign your painting. I like to do that with the little brush too. And either just your initials or your name. And that's it. That's our paintings, yay. So yeah, whenever you guys finish, make sure to take a picture and send me a picture. I would love to see what you guys made. It was very suspenseful for me teaching this class and not seeing what you guys are working on. So yeah, get a picture and send it to me, and if you guys don't mind, I might also share them on my Facebook and Instagram and all that. Let's see, ways to support me if you would like to support me. With all my events canceled, markets, and classes, it is kind of like a financially tough time, and I know all of us are feeling it if you've been laid off from your job and whatnot. I won't talk about it too much because this is de-stress time. But anyway, I am taking donations for these classes, so those can be sent to me by PayPal to followthesunart@gmail.com or Venmo, also at followthesunart. And I'll post everything in a comment on this video too. And also I have a Patreon page. So if you haven't heard of that, I think I talk about it kind of a lot, but it's also easy to miss things on social media. But it's a subscription site, so it's like a membership thing. So you have like a monthly contribution, and in exchange you get cool perks. So I have different tiers, and the options available are digital downloads. I also have more video classes like this. I'll be prepping April's rewards pretty soon. There's also a goodie box option if you want physical goods delivered, like cards or art prints or other fun accessories. And then also my website is open too, so if you need any prints for your walls, since we're all staying home looking at our empty walls. I also have a lot of other fun stuff like apparel, phone cases, things like that. I'm also donating 15% of my sales this month to the local food bank because they need resources to help people out too. So it's a good cause to shop at followthesunart.com right now. And also, if you are interested in pursuing art further, I have more classes on Skillshare. And that's a cool website. It's just a monthly membership site, but you have access to all kinds of classes. There's different art mediums, there's professional skills, writing. I always go on there if I want to learn something new. And I do, I love that website. But I have a couple of classes on there that are a little bit more in depth on painting techniques and stuff like that. And I'll be working on more in the future as well. And also just sharing with your friends. A lot of you have already shared this class with your friends and my artwork in general, and I always really appreciate it. It means so much to me when you guys share my stuff. So that always helps out too, just getting what I'm doing in front of more people. So thank you so much. Also, remember your small businesses during this time. A lot of shops and restaurants have closed their doors and they also need help. So some ways you can support them are ordering takeout from restaurants that are offering curbside pickup. Also, a lot of brick and mortar shops are selling gift cards to kind of carry them through this time. Also, online orders. You know, everyone's got a website these days. You can shop there. And yeah, if I can help you in any way, also let me know. Feel free to promote your own stuff in the comments here to everyone that was watching tonight. We're all friends now. And also, if you want me to give you a shout out in a post or anything, I'm so happy to do that. Also, if you need like a food delivery in Santa Cruz or something, I can help you. Let me know if I can be of service. We're all in this together. I think that's all. Happy painting, and I will see you next time. Bye, everyone.